This is something that I done. Do you recognize the SSD in there? And watch. Okay, you're probably thinking, how did I manage to put in my Samsung SSD? And here's the thing. Even when I got my Samsung SSD in, it still got my data because it used the Samsung Magician software, which also did a firmware update to my SSD. So I did to that SSD, the one that's in here now, was reaching in there, and I transferred over the ThermoPad. So that way when I use this, at least it won't overheat. At least doing it this way, it won't overheat. For that one reason. And there it is. The brand new Samsung SSD. Now SSD drive. And of course, if I plug this in, we actually have a cable connected here. If I can connect it back again. It's so hard to connect it again. Power surge and USB port. Hold on. Yeah, it just says power surge and USB port. I just knocked it out. Great. And now my mouse doesn't work. So I gotta restart it again. But, some reason that's doing the shutdown thing. I'd always set this to just turn off the screen, but I transferred it over to the SSD using this enclosure. Then I put the SSD in. So, and that way, once I build my new PC, I can easily take this SSD out, put in that new PC, and it's never gonna be bottlenecked. Of course, never gonna be bottlenecked. I just wish that this CPU can support PCIe 4, which is what the motherboard can support. But unfortunately, the CPU I chose only does PCIe 3. So, it's a bummer, but at least I have that. At least I can transfer this over to my other PC. Although the fingerprint sensor may not work, but I can move the fingerprint sensor over to my new PC, and then I have to reactivate Windows. Once I reactivate Windows, this PC won't be working. So, yeah. So it's gonna be locked to PCIe 3. I'm not quite sure why this is open here. So if I do the write test here on this new SSD, which has 1 gigabyte more, which is a bit of a bonus, it's only going to be limited to about 3,000 megabits per second on the read. As you can see there, it's gonna be bottleneck from that, but that's fine. This is an old PC. I don't plan to upgrade the CPU. Everything works fine. And I think this SSD is slightly faster, so my PC boots up much faster as well. Now since I have this plugged in, if I look here, it's not that one. See, I said look with this here. Gaming root. SATA settings. What is all this here for? I don't know. Oh, I better make this hidden. INET pub, of course. and now it's hidden. But it does work, and I think it's slightly faster than my Western Digital SSD and my Saban SSD, which is right now faulty. I think this is actually slightly faster, so my PC will boot up faster. I just wish the CPU I chose for this supported PCIe 4. But since it's a 500 series processor, it only supports PCIe 3. So if I go to Task Manager and go here, see? This type does not use PCIe 4. But at least when I get my new PC, I have the headroom. I can just move it over to my other PC. And I have that 4TB SSD as well to have even bigger storage. So, and now I will need to wipe the SSD. Wait, this thing's still not getting power. Hold on, let me see. Let me make sure I'm plugging into the right port. It's on this time. It's on. It's reading. So if I look here, there's the C drive. Ah, here it is. Ah, so this hasn't been assigned a letter. So this. This is disk 6. And since I know it's disk 6, I'm going to do SELDIS 6. Clean. And that uninitializes the drive. Basically making it a new drive, and I can format it for other uses. But now since I have this on a new SSD, I shouldn't have any problems anymore. And by the way, Data 5 is that other SSD. So I go to Crystal Disk Info. Yes, I have the Mac Chime as the user account control. So if you look here, that's disk 6. I believe it's this one. Yep. Silicon Power. A Silicon Power logo. So this one has a slightly higher storage output than this one, which is surprising. I guess they did that so that you have. Ooh. Oh. Because I could click that. And this is the Western Digital one. So that's kind of interesting. This one has slightly higher storage. I think it's just for redundancy. But yeah, perfect.